Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're tackling a giant, really, a body of work that's, well, everywhere in personal development circles, but maybe not always grasped in its full depth. We're diving into the 7 habits of highly effective people, but specifically the bedrock principles, the foundation that makes it so enduring.
Right, and it's crucial to get this part. So many people pick it up looking for, you know, time management hacks or productivity tricks.
Exactly, like a manual for scheduling.
Yeah, but that's really missing the forest for the trees.
Mhm.
The sources we've looked at make it clear this is way deeper. It's about a fundamental philosophical reset.
Moving away from those surface level fixes, the quick fixes, and really looking at a deep change in who we are, how we operate, how we see everything.
That's it. That foundational piece is everything.
hmm
You mentioned people looking for skills. But the lasting power, the reason this book has stuck around for decades, it comes from this focus on what Covey called the character ethic.
Okay, the character ethic, let's pin that.
It's the argument that real lasting effectiveness, it's an inside-out process. You just can't fake the results on the outside if the character, the inner core, isn't solid. It eventually shows.
And the sheer range of people who vouch for this specific inside-out approach is just, well, it's staggering. It cuts across every field imaginable. We're not just talking about general praise either.
No, absolutely not. Think about someone like Surendal Thompson, CEO of AP Pension over in Denmark. He explicitly credits the book with revealing that inner strength that all of us have but seldom realize. That's not about meeting quarterly targets, is it?
Not at all. Or, take the military. Admiral Vern Clark, retired from the U.S. Navy, he gives it a perfect 10, recommends it constantly. He points to its universal applicability. That really says something.
And it pops up in humanitarian work, too.
Yeah.
Arun Gandhi, from the Gandhi Worldwide Education Institute, he observed that the success people find through these principles isn't just, like, material stuff. It actually leads toward a moral realization of the meaning of life.
Wow. Moral realization. That's a heavy phrase.
It is.
And it perfectly frames what we're trying to do here today, doesn't it? To really unpack that difference between the shiny techniques, the quick fixes, and these deep foundational principles, the character ethic that provides that kind of lasting strength, that ethical compass.
Exactly. And people seek this deep stuff for a reason. It's usually driven by some kind of chronic pain. The sources point to these recurring struggles that push people past the superficial answers.
Like what kind of struggles are we talking about?
Well, the first one is maybe the most devastating. It's climbing the ladder of professional success, hitting all the external milestones, only to look around and realize your personal life is in ruins.
Oof. Yeah, that hits hard. Making great money, careers flying, but suddenly you feel like a stranger in your own home. You don't know your partner, your kids.
Or even yourself, that terrifying feeling of, is this it? Is this what I worked so hard for? The ladder was against the wrong wall the whole time.
Okay, so that's one major pain point. What else?
Another big one is that cycle of failed self-improvement. We've all been there, right? You get all fired up, make a resolution, start the diet, the new habit.
Total positive mental attitude.
Yeah.
This time it's different.
Right. And then fizzle.
Yeah.
A few weeks, maybe a month later, you're back where you started because you just can't seem to keep a promise you made to yourself. The motivation wasn't depth enough. It was external, maybe borrowed.
And then there are the hyper-organized folks, the ones with all the planners, the systems, yet they still feel completely swamped.
Pressured, hassled, constantly running, busy, busy, busy. But busy doing what Covey called the thick of thin things.
The thick of thin things. I like that. Sacrificing the important stuff, health, family, integrity for the urgent, often trivial stuff, efficiently going nowhere fast.
Precisely. And one more, particularly relevant for managers or leaders, feeling unappreciated. Or worse, sensing actual disloyalty from your team, even though you think you're being friendly, trying to treat them well.
Yeah, that signals a deeper disconnect.
It absolutely does. It shows that superficial friendliness, that personality ethic approach, it doesn't build real trust or loyalty. Those are deep issues that require genuine character. Which brings us right back to needing that foundational reset and understanding maybe where modern success thinking went off track.
Okay, so let's dig into that. This historical shift you mentioned. If all the positive thinking and the planners aren't delivering long-term, where did the philosophy go wrong? This brings us to that core idea. Character ethic versus personality ethic.
Right. This wasn't just an opinion. It came from some pretty serious research, looking back at like 200 years of success literature in America.
2 centuries worth, okay.
Yeah. And they found this really startling pattern, almost like 2 completely different eras of advice.
So what was the first era like?
For the first, say, 150 years of that period, the focus was almost entirely on what they termed the character ethic. The underlying message was simple. Be good. Integrity, humility, fidelity, courage, justice, patience. All those foundational virtues.
The idea being that success naturally flows from who you are.
Exactly. Your character was the foundation. But then, somewhere around the early to mid-20th century, maybe the last 50 years before the book first came out, there was this dramatic shift towards the personality ethic. The focus moved outward. It became about social image, techniques, public relations, how you appear, quick fixes.
We all know this stuff. It's the how to win friends and influence people kind of techniques, right?
Yeah.
Looking the part, having the right handshake, the power look.
Using specific phrasings, focusing relentlessly on positive mental attitude, sometimes summed up in slogans like, whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. It's all about the packaging.
Now, hang on. Isn't some of that necessary? I mean, you need social skills, right? You can't just be a virtuous hermit. Where's the line between useful skills and, well, manipulation?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the line, according to this framework, is integrity. The personality ethic often focuses on fixing acute problems, like smoothing over a tense moment in a meeting with charm.
Okay, like a social Band-Aid.
Exactly. But if that charm isn't backed by genuine respect or competence, if it's just a technique, it doesn't solve the underlying chronic issue, like a lack of trust or a fundamental disagreement. People sense insincerity eventually.
So the skills, the secondary traits, are only effective long-term if they're built on primary traits, like integrity.
Precisely. The character ethic insists there are no shortcuts because it's grounded in principles, unchanging universal laws that govern human effectiveness. Think of them like gravity.
You can ignore gravity, but you can't ignore the consequences of ignoring gravity.
You got it. Principles like fairness, honesty, integrity, human dignity. These aren't just nice ideas, they're the bedrock of trust. You violate them, you eventually pay the price, personally or organizationally.
And this brings us to that fantastic analogy, the law of the harvest. It really drives home why the quick fix approach just doesn't work in the long run, especially with people.
It's perfect, isn't it? Think about farming. You can't cram for the harvest. You can't sow oats in the spring and expect to harvest wheat in the fall. There's a natural process.
You have to prepare the soil, plant the seed, water it, nurture it over time.
Right. The personality ethic is like trying to skip all that. It wants the harvest now without doing the work. It thinks charm or technique can somehow replace the slow, steady cultivation of trust and character.
Give me an example of how that plays out.
Okay, imagine you have this super charismatic employee, great presenter, amazing networker. All those shiny secondary traits are dialed up to 11.
Okay, I got the picture. The office superstar.
But underneath, let's say they lack real integrity, real fidelity. That's the primary trait weakness. Maybe they land a huge deal using sheer charm. Looks great initially.
Big win for the team.
For a moment. But then pressure hits, a mistake is made, or the project demands sustained honesty and accountability. What happens? Their true character surfaces. They might lie, shift blame, betray a confidence.
And suddenly that initial win is totally wiped out.
Worse than wiped out. The trust is broken. The client might be lost forever. The team morale tanks. That quick fix of charisma was built on sand. The lack of primary character strength eventually caused a total collapse. You can't borrow strength. You build it from the foundation up.
So the quality of the result really is tied directly to the quality of the character. That forces us inward, doesn't it? Which leads perfectly into this next big idea. Paradigms. We have to look at how we're seeing things in the first place.
Exactly. To really live by the character ethic, you first have to grapple with the fact that the way you see the world isn't necessarily reality. It's your map of reality.
A paradigm is like a mental map.
Okay, yeah, it's your belief system, your assumptions, your frame of reference. It's the lens through which you interpret everything. And the crucial point is, the map is not the territory. Meaning, you could be incredibly hardworking, super positive, totally dedicated. But if your underlying map, your paradigm, is flawed, all that effort could be taking you in the completely wrong direction.
Like trying to navigate Chicago with a map of Detroit.
Perfect analogy. Your attitude and diligence won't help if the map itself is fundamentally wrong. You'll just get more efficiently lost. And most people, most of the time, don't even question their maps. They assume their perception is reality.
There's that famous visual experiment that illustrates this so powerfully. The old woman young lady picture.
Ah, yes, it's a classic. And so effective at demonstrating how our conditioning shapes what we see.
Explain how it works for those who haven't seen it.
Okay, so people are shown this ambiguous image. It can be seen either as a young, fashionable woman turning away, or as an older woman with a prominent nose and chin looking down.
Same lines, same spaces, but two possible interpretations.
Right. But here's the kicker. Before seeing the ambiguous image, one group is briefly shown just the image clearly depicting the young woman. Another group is shown just the old woman, just for like 10 seconds, conditioning them.
So they're primed.
Exactly. Then they look at the combined ambiguous picture. And what happens? Overwhelmingly, people see what they were conditioned to see. They're looking at the exact same drawing, the same objective data, but they're perceiving entirely different realities.
And they argue about it, adamantly.
Fiercely. Can't you see it's obviously a young woman? Are you blind? Look at the nose. She's clearly old. Each person is utterly convinced their perception is the only correct one, based on their prior brief conditioning.
Which leads to that profound takeaway.
We see the world not as it is, but as we are, or as we are conditioned to see it. When we describe what we're seeing out there, we're actually describing ourselves, our own lens, our own map.
That's slightly terrifying. It means our view might be way more limited than we think.
It often is. But the flip side is the power of a paradigm shift, that aha moment, when the lens changes and suddenly you see things in a completely new way.
It's not just tweaking your attitude, it's a fundamental change in perception, like putting on different glasses.
Exactly. It's often triggered by new information or a powerful experience that just shatters the old map.
The story that nails this emotionally is the one on the subway. It's so raw.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It perfectly illustrates an emotional paradigm shift.
So the setup is, you're sitting on a quiet subway car in New York, peaceful Sunday morning. Then this man gets on with his kids.
And boom, chaos. The kids are running wild, yelling, throwing stuff, bothering everyone. Total disruption.
And the father just sits there, eyes closed, seemingly oblivious, like he doesn't care at all.
So your initial paradigm kicks in instantly, right?
Yeah.
Irritation, judgment. The map says, this guy is inconsiderate, irresponsible, letting his kids run riot.
Yeah, you feel annoyed, maybe even angry. You feel justified in judging him.
So the narrator in the story, feeling this irritation build, finally leans over and says something polite but firm, like, "Sir, your children are really disturbing people. Maybe you could control them a bit more."
Expecting maybe defensiveness or an apology or something.
Right. But the man looks up, almost as if coming out of a fog, and says softly, "Oh, you're right. I guess I should do something about it." Then he pauses and delivers the line that changes everything.
We just came from the hospital where their mother died about an hour ago.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think, and I guess they don't know how to handle it either.
And in that instant,
Everything shifts. The irritation, the judgment, poof, gone. Not just suppressed, but completely evaporated.
replaced by what?
By this wave of sympathy, compassion, understanding. Suddenly you see the behavior, the father's inaction, the kid's chaos through a totally different lens.
You didn't have to try to feel differently. You didn't have to work on your attitude. Your heart changed because your perception changed. The feelings just flowed naturally from the new paradigm
It's such a powerful illustration, and it links back to what you said earlier.
about being and seeing.
Yes, paradigms and character are intertwined. To see the world, or that father, differently, you had to be different in that moment. Your capacity for compassion had to be there for the information to trigger the shift.
Exactly. The change in vision is enabled by, and ultimately limited by, your fundamental character, which is why the work has to start on the inside.
Which brings us perfectly to the first stage of real growth in this model, the private victory. Mastering yourself before you try to master anything else.
You absolutely have to get this sequence right. Private victories always precede public ones. You can't build strong relationships or lead effectively or have real influence if you haven't achieved some measure of self-mastery first. It's strictly inside out.
Okay, so the first habit in this private victory stage is habit 1. Be proactive. What's the core idea here?
It's about recognizing and exercising your fundamental freedom to choose your response to whatever life throws at you. It's most powerfully illustrated by Viktor Frankl's experiences.
The psychiatrist who survived the Nazi death camps.
Yes. Frankl endured the absolute extreme of external control. Everything was dictated. His environment, his food, his physical body was subject to the whims of his captors. Constant suffering and uncertainty.
Hard to imagine a situation with less freedom.
Exactly. But Frankl realized, through observation and his own inner work, that there was one thing his captors could not take away.
Which was?
The last of the human freedoms. The power to choose his response in the space between the stimulus, the suffering, the degradation, and his reaction. They couldn't control his inner life, his attitude, the meaning he chose to find in his suffering.
He could choose dignity, purpose, even internal freedom, despite the external horror.
That's the essence of proactivity. It's much more than just taking initiative. It's about responsibility, your ability to choose your response.
So reactive people are driven by feelings, conditions, circumstances.
Right. Their mood depends on the weather or how people treat them. If someone is rude, they get angry. If things go well, they feel good. They're like a puppet controlled by external strings.
Whereas proactive people,
Proactive people subordinate feelings to values. Their behavior is a product of their conscious choices, based on deeply held principles, not just the impulse of the moment or external pressures. They own their weather.
okay. And how does this play out practically? There's the idea of the circles.
Right, the circle of concern and the circle of influence. It's a great mental model. Reactive people tend to focus their energy and thoughts primarily on their circle of concern.
Which includes
All the things they worry about but have little or no direct control over. The national debt, nuclear war, other people's weaknesses, mistakes made in the past, the political climate.
things you can complain about endlessly.
Exactly. And focusing there generates negative energy, blaming, accusing, feeling like a victim. And ironically, it actually causes their real influence to shrink because they're neglecting the things they can change.
So proactive people flip that.
They focus their energy primarily on their circle of influence. This is much smaller initially. It includes things they can do something about.
Like their own habits, their attitude, how they treat others, their skills.
Primarily themselves, their choices, their responses. By working on these things within their control, they generate positive energy. They learn, they grow, they build trust. And interestingly, their circle of influence actually starts to expand.
Because they become more capable, more trustworthy, more effective.
Precisely. If there's a problem at work, the reactive person blames the boss or the system, concern. The proactive person asks, what can I do within my influence to make this situation better? Can I develop a better presentation? Can I understand the other perspective? Can I be more resourceful?
That shift in focus is huge. And it leads to that powerful application you mentioned earlier. Love is a verb.
Yes. This really crystallizes proactivity in relationships. It came from a seminar interaction. A man stood up and said, essentially, the love is gone in my marriage. We just don't have the feeling anymore. What can I do?
A common and painful situation. What was the advice?
Simple, direct, and initially probably quite jarring. Love her.
Love her, but he just said the feeling wasn't there.
Exactly his reaction. He said, you don't understand. The feeling isn't there anymore. And the response came back, then love her. If the feeling isn't there, that's a good reason to love her.
Meaning
That love, the feeling, is the fruit of love, the action. The verb precedes the noun. If you want the feeling, you have to engage in the actions of love.
So what actions specifically?
Serve her, sacrifice for her, truly listen to her, empathize with her feelings and perspective, appreciate her, affirm her worth. These are choices, proactive choices.
You choose the action based on your value of commitment, even if the feeling isn't present in that moment.
Precisely. You subordinate the feeling to the value. And the amazing thing is, when you consistently choose the loving actions, the feeling often follows. You generate the feeling through your proactive behavior. That's responsibility in its purest form.
Okay, so habit 1 is about owning your response, being the driver, not the passenger. What's the next step in this private victory?
Once you recognize you're the programmer, habit 1, you need to decide what program you want to write. You need direction. That's habit 2. Begin with the end in mind.
Having a clear destination before you start the journey.
Exactly. And the most potent way to tap into this, to find your true north, is that powerful exercise, the funeral visualization.
Right. Tell us about that.
Okay, so you mentally project yourself forward to the end of your life. Picture your own funeral. Who's there? What's the atmosphere? And most importantly, imagine 4 people getting up to speak about you.
Who are these 4 people?
Typically someone from your family, a close friend, someone from your work or profession, and maybe someone from your community or church group. Key relationships.
And the core question is,
what would you want them to honestly say about you? Not your job title, not how much money you made, but about your character, your contributions, the kind of husband, wife, parent, friend, colleague you were. Did you make a difference? Did you live with integrity?
wow, that cuts deep. It forces you past the day-to-day urgent stuff right to your fundamental values.
It really does. It acts like a personal compass. The eulogy you desire reveals what true success means to you. And often, that's wildly different from the external metrics, fame, wealth, position that society pushes, or that you might be chasing right now.
It asks that brutal question again. Is the ladder you're frantically climbing leaning against the right wall?
Precisely. Because all things are created twice. That's the principle behind habit 2.
Okay, explain the two creations.
Everything we see around us that was made by humans first existed as a mental creation, a thought, a plan, a design. That's the first creation. It's leadership. It's deciding what you want to create.
Like the architect drawing the blueprints for a house. That's the first creation.
Exactly. It requires imagination, seeing the potential outcome, and conscience, aligning the design with your values and sense of purpose. Then comes the second creation,
Which is?
the physical creation, the actual building of the house, following the blueprints, hammering the nails, putting up the walls. That's management. It's doing things right.
But leadership is doing the right things.
You got it. You can be incredibly efficient at hammering nails management, but if the blueprints, leadership, are for the wrong house or on the wrong plot of land, your efficiency just gets you the wrong result faster.
This is that wrong jungle analogy again, isn't it?
It fits perfectly. Managers are down in the undergrowth, sharpening their machetes, clearing brush efficiently, making progress. But the leader is the one who climbs the tallest tree, surveys the whole scene, and yells, "Wrong jungle!"
All that efficient machete work is wasted if you're headed in the wrong direction. Management without leadership is just activity.
The thick of thin things, again. So habit 2 is about taking responsibility for your own first creation. Writing your own script, your personal mission statement based on those deep funeral-level values, rather than just living out scripts given to you by family, society, or circumstances.
Becoming your own first creator, that sounds empowering, but also challenging. How do you ensure that script is solid?
That depends entirely on your center. What is the fundamental source of your security, guidance, wisdom, and power? Because if your center is unstable, your whole life script will be built on shaky ground.
Okay, so what are some common but ultimately flawed centers people rely on?
Oh, there are many. Let's take money-centeredness. If your core sense of security comes from your bank balance or income, what happens?
You're constantly anxious, vulnerable to market swings, job loss.
Totally. Your decisions become fear-based. You might miss opportunities for growth because they involve short-term financial risk. And money itself offers zero wisdom or ethical guidance, right? It can even lead you away from principles.
Makes sense. What about being centered on possessions?
Possession-centeredness. Your self-worth is tied to what you own: the car, the house, the brand names. You're constantly comparing. You feel good around people with less, insecure around people with more.
A treadmill of comparison. And your security as fragile possessions can be lost, stolen, outdated.
Exactly. No lasting peace there. Then there's one that sounds good but can be tricky. Family-centeredness.
How can centering on family be flawed? That seems like a virtue.
It can be. But if your entire sense of security, identity, and worth comes from your family, maybe their reputation, or your kids behaving exactly as you expect, you become incredibly vulnerable to their choices and moods.
I see. Your emotional stability depends on others' behavior.
Right. And it can lead to conditional love. Parents might try to control their kids excessively, not for the kid's good, but because the kid's choices threaten the parent's sense of self-worth or security. They might sacrifice the child's long-term well-being for their own emotional stability.
That's a heavy thought, creating dependency or rebellion instead of healthy growth.
It's a real danger. Or consider enemy-centeredness, being obsessed with someone you dislike or in conflict with. Your whole life becomes reactive to their actions and perceived weaknesses. They're controlling your emotional state.
So what's the alternative, the stable foundation?
The only truly stable foundation is a principle-centered paradigm, centering your life on timeless, unchanging principles like fairness, integrity, service, human dignity, potential.
Why is that more stable?
Because principles don't change. They aren't dependent on people's moods, economic conditions, or social trends. They're like bedrock. Centering on principles gives you reliable security, your worth isn't conditional, reliable guidance, principles apply everywhere, true wisdom, seeing the long-term consequences, and immense personal power. You act proactively from values, not reactively from emotions or external pressures.
So you have this solid core, this internal compass, guiding your choices based on your end in mind.
That's the goal. It provides the resilience to live out the script you wrote in Habit 2, driven by the choices you own in Habit 1.
Okay, so we've covered the foundation of owning our response, habit one, and setting our direction based on principles, habit two. These are the core private victories. But you mentioned an overarching concept that ties everything together.
Yes, the PPC balance. This is absolutely fundamental. It governs the effectiveness of all the habits. It's about sustainability.
And the best way to understand it is that classic fable.
The goose and the golden egg. Everyone knows it, but the lesson is profound for effectiveness.
Remind us quickly.
So this farmer has a goose that lays a solid gold egg every single day. Amazing, right? He's getting rich day by day.
Steady production. That's the production, the golden eggs.
Exactly. But the farmer gets impatient, greedy. He thinks, why wait for one egg a day? If I cut the goose open, I can get all the eggs right now.
Uh-oh. Bad idea.
Terrible idea. He kills the goose, the asset, the source of the eggs, the production capability, or PC. And of course, he finds nothing inside.
Yeah.
He destroyed the very thing that produced the results he wanted.
Destroyed the PC to maximize short-term P and ended up with neither.
Precisely. So, effectiveness, true. Sustainable effectiveness requires a balance between P, getting the results, the eggs, and PC, maintaining and nurturing the asset or capability that produces the results, the goose. Focus only on P, you burn out the asset. Focus only on PC, you never actually produce anything.
Got it. Balance is key. How does this apply beyond geese and eggs?
It applies to everything. Let's take physical assets. Your lawnmower, your car, even your own body. If you just use the mower constantly, P, without ever sharpening the blade, changing the oil, cleaning it, PC, eventually it breaks down completely.
We do that with our health all the time, don't we? Maximize work output, P, while neglecting sleep, exercise, nutrition, PC, until we crash.
Exactly. Same with financial assets. A company might push relentlessly for high quarterly profits to please shareholders now. But if they achieve that by cutting R&D, slashing training budgets, or deferring essential maintenance, neglecting PC, they're killing the goose that lays future golden eggs. The short-term P is unsustainable.
They're eating their seed corn.
Perfectly put. And maybe most importantly, this applies crucially to human assets, to relationships.
How does PPC work in a marriage, for example?
Well, think about it. If both partners are only focused on getting their needs met, getting the benefits of the relationship, whether that's chores done, bills paid, companionship on their terms, they often neglect the PC.
And the PC in a relationship is?
It's the relationship itself.
Yeah.
It's the trust, the emotional bank account, the understanding. It's maintained through the little kindnesses and courtesies. Deep listening, keeping promises, apologizing, showing appreciation, spending quality time together. If you only focus on taking withdrawals, P, without making deposits, PC, the relationship weakens. The goose gets sick.
Trust erodes, communication breaks down, manipulation might creep in instead of genuine connections.
Sadly, yes.
Yeah.
Same thing in parenting. If you only focus on getting the child to obey now, P, maybe through yelling or threats, you get short-term compliance. But you damage the long-term relationship, the trust, the child's self-esteem, the PC. You're borrowing strength from the relationship asset, weakening it over time.
That idea of borrowing strength at the cost of the relationship is powerful. The PC perspective forces a longer-term view.
It absolutely does. There was that great story illustrating a conscious PC investment, the father whose daughter desperately wanted to see Star Wars.
Right. He really didn't like the movie, saw it as a waste of time, low P for him.
Yeah, his focus was purely on the P, the value he would get from the time spent. He tried to talk her into doing something else, something he deemed more productive or meaningful.
But she wouldn't budge. And then she said something that shifted his paradigm.
She said, "Dad, you don't like Star Wars because you don't understand the philosophy and training of a Jedi Knight?" Then she connected it directly to the principles he had taught her about integrity, discipline, resisting the dark side.
Whoa. She basically reframed the entire experience for him.
Instantly, he realized that by dismissing the movie, the P activity, he was dismissing her world, her perspective. He was damaging the PC of their relationship. The moment he chose to listen, to become her student, to understand her map.
The PPC balance shifted. What seemed like a low P activity became a massive PC investment.
Exactly. The movie itself might still not have been his favorite, but the experience became incredibly valuable because it strengthened the relationship asset. He honored her paradigm. That's pure PC thinking.
And this plays out in business constantly, right, with customers and employees.
Absolutely. The classic example is the restaurant owner who decides to water down the clam chowder to save a few pennies and boost short-term profit.
Customers notice. Trust evaporates. PC is destroyed.
And pretty soon, the customers disappear, taking the short-term profit with them. You killed the customer loyalty goose?
So the PC principle in business, especially regarding people.
It's fundamentally this. Treat your employees exactly as you want them to treat your best customers. You can buy someone's time, their hands, their back, but you can't buy their heart, their mind, their creativity, their loyalty.
Those are PC assets. They have to be earned through trust and respect.
Precisely. Only genuine care and investment in the employee relationship, PC, will unlock that discretionary effort, that enthusiasm, that commitment, which ultimately drives sustainable P.
Okay, this PPC balance really does seem to be the engine driving long-term effectiveness across the board.
It underpins everything. You can't sustain any of the habits without maintaining that balance.
All right, let's try and pull the threads together here. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We started with that fundamental shift needed moving away from the superficial personality ethic.
Towards the deep internal strength of the character ethic.
No.
Understanding that who you are is the foundation.
Then we explored paradigms, realizing our view isn't objective reality, but our conditioned map, and the power that comes from shifting that map.
Which opens the door to the private victory. The journey from dependence to independence, starting with yourself.
That involved habit 1. Be proactive, choosing your response, focusing on your circle of influence, owning your actions like love is a verb.
And habit 2. Begin with the end in mind, defining your personal mission based on deep principles, becoming your own first creator, ensuring your ladder is against the right wall.
All underpinned by that crucial concept of the PPC balance, nurturing the asset while seeking the result, whether it's a relationship, your health, or a business.
And achieving these private victories, habits 1, 2, and later habit 3, which builds on these, gives you that genuine self-confidence, that inner directedness. Your sense of worth comes from within, not from comparison or external validation.
So this whole journey, guided by these principles, it's really about ongoing growth, isn't it? Which leads us to one final, really thought-provoking idea for everyone listening.
Yes, the idea of living life in crescendo.
Crescendo, like in music, getting louder, more intense.
Exactly. It's the opposite of diminuendo, fading out, playing it safe, settling, retiring into inactivity. Living life in crescendo means your commitment to your most important work, your most significant contributions, is always expanding, always deepening.
The idea that your best work, your biggest impact, is always ahead of you, not behind you.
That's the implication. If you're living the principles, if you're constantly renewing yourself, sharpening the saw, as Habit 7 puts it, you never truly retire from meaningful contribution.
You might leave a specific job, but the learning, the serving, the relationship building, the problem solving continues to grow.
That's the vision. Your life's trajectory keeps rising in terms of impact, wisdom, and fulfillment. You're always building on the foundation, reaching for the next level.
So the challenge for us, for everyone listening, is to start that upward curve now.
Absolutely. It comes back to that proactive choice. Ask yourself that Habit 2 question again. What is the one thing I could start doing today in my personal or professional life that, if I did it consistently, would make the greatest positive difference?
Identify that one thing based on your deepest values.
And then use your Habit 1 proactivity to act on it, even if it's small, even if it's hard. That single principle-based choice is the start of your crescendo.